Hello, everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacchino, doing the stock sector overview for this week to help us fine-tune our trading strategies for the coming week and weeks, because you want to focus on the sectors that are outperforming, or you want to watch for sectors that are in sell mode and like energy that could be in a slight topping pattern and looking for a bigger pullback. By the way, if you are new here, please do consider subscribing, ringing that bell, and hitting the like button. So let me get to my other monitor. Here we go. All right, energy still in major buy mode, not near any sell mode. Again, this has been in buy mode for, since roughly about the end of November of 20. Coming up, forming a slight topping pattern, getting a little overextended. Also, crude has so far hit the pretty much the first and second target on our little double top. Watching for a pullback, you can see here, could not get a close above our cluster area and drifting sideways. Going to be watching especially for a close below 75.32. We start getting close below 75.32. Going to start watching for the bigger pullback. Remember, major support is back here at about 70.41. What does this mean? This means that if you have some oil stocks or you're trading in anything oil related or energy related, this would be an appropriate time to move up your stops and or take some partial profits if we do turn around and get that key close below about this 75.25 area. What would keep watching for another move up? A close above 78.22, then we'd watch for a return to the highs. And then above the highs with this pausing bar area, we are watching for minor 82.08, then major 84, roughly 83.79 to 84. So that's what we're keeping an eye on with the energy sector. Still might be putting in a short-term topping pattern, but long-term it's still very bullish. Real estate still holding up, no sell signal in XLRE, but staying pretty flat, slight reversal last week. Nothing else to really watch for. There is, I was watching for a double top. It's come into a triple top against the 200. But you get a break above about this 47 area, then I'd watch for a continued rally. A key support's coming in about 45.40. We start getting a close below there, I will watch for another breakdown, and that could trigger a longer-term sell signal in XLRE. XLF financials, not yet triggering a sell signal. You see the bigger picture here coming back down to test this key support area. Overhead is resistance, so we're going to be still monitoring it for a very long-term sell signal, but your first warning sign would be is if it starts breaking back down, slight gap here, but if it starts breaking back down below 35.50, you can watch that. If you want a slightly earlier warning sign on this last little run up, you start getting below about 36, then I'm going to watch for a retest of the lows. If we go down through the lows, we'll probably trigger a longer term sell signal based off the sector sell long-term system. So on any rally, your first area of resistance is 37.54, and then I'd watch the top of the rotation zone coming in about 37.80. But there is not really anything to do from the bullish side, so be very careful with financial sector stocks. Even on a rally, that's a good place to move up any stocks you're still in, any stops on stocks you're still in, because when this does roll over again and triggers that long-term sell signal, it will not be pretty. XLK technology just triggered a sell signal. What's interesting is we have this slight little double bottom, and overall I'm going to start watching for a rally this week, putting in a bottom in the stock indices. So I expect we could get a bounce, but it has triggered a longer term sell signal. And remember, we're also in this longer term double or head and shoulders pattern. So any rallies in this are to be sold longer term. What does this look like? Also, see, it's a triple bottom on the daily. I'm keeping an eye on this double bottom on the weekly. though, if really to change the scenario back to buy mode, what's interesting is the long-term buy mode would get on a close above about 156 would actually trigger it back to buy mode, and it would trigger a double bottom. But until that happens, nothing to do. There again might be some short-term bounces. Key resistance 150.70. If we get through there, I'm watching for this would be a fail-safe trend line from this major head and shoulders pattern. Here's that head and shoulders pattern. It doesn't quite qualify with our traditional rules, so I'm just using a flat neckline and doing the projections down. That's why also this has triggered and confirmed, or this has triggered and confirmed, and we have much lower longer term price action expected for XLK. XLI industrials. Let's take a look on the weekly. Really close to a sell signal here. So we are going to be keeping an eye on that, closing also below this 98.50 key resistance. I'm now bumping this down just a bit. Let me see based off that on that daily. Right about 98. So if this keeps rolling down, it's going to probably trigger a sell signal next week. Even if we get a bounce, it's just delaying the inevitable sell signal. If you want to watch for a possible early identification that is rolling over again, a close below 96.44 is a signal that this is going to retest the lows. So do keep that in mind. Don't really have anything. If we do retest those lows, 93.40, then we have 91.59, then 89.69. Oh, the major overhead resistance is now at the declining rotation zone, about 150. You get above there on a closing basis, it will remove any potential sell signal in the short term, and we have a little clear path move, and this key support would have held. XLY Consumer Discretionary, again, sell signal last week, continued a bit lower this week with a little potential bounce, and we do have a potential double bottom here, but that's a long way out from triggering. You need a close above 179.63, and it is lower probability since it is going into the rotation zone. So what would be more likely is that we rally back up to the rotation zone and roll back over. So really pay attention if you're still in any consumer discretionary stocks. I am expecting a bounce sometime, but those bounces are to be sold from our perspective. Otherwise, nothing really to do there. XLP, consumer staples, so big roll down this week, did not trigger a long-term sell signal. So I will be watching this next week very, very closely to see if we get the bounce. Not a first cross rotation zone, but now 73 is key resistance. Above 73 we have 74.12. What's interesting is if it does continue lower, the next major support is not back until 69. We have been very bullish on consumer staples, but this is a pretty severe reversal pattern. So this means aggressively move up the stops in case it does trigger a longer term sell signal. That's where it sits with that. Short term, yeah, just watch the rotation zone up here. It's above 73.03. You have the rotation zone right here. It would have to wipe out this whole bar, and then above that you have the top of the rotation zone. So we have now major overhead resistance. XLV, we still have this potential double long-term, not triggering a long-term sell signal just yet, and this double is still in play. So it's sort of stuck in neutral mode, and this is healthcare. And in our portfolio, we are long a couple healthcare stocks, but I will be monitoring this really close, especially next week, to see if it does tip over into a sell signal. Area of support is about 125.34. Maybe let me take that look at on a daily. Gonna have to modify it just a bit. Let's just go to 125. 125 is key. What would change this to a much more bullish pattern again would be, again, if we get a close above 134.46, that would trigger this double bottom, and we'd watch for a retest of the high areas. XLB. which did trigger this double top patterns coming down, just holding in front of the second target, and still no long-term sell signal, but very, very close. This is a material select spider. So we're going to keep an eye on that now. If it does rally, again, our key resistance at this point is coming in roughly at about 84.32, and then we have 84.80. We need a close above 84.80 before we get more aggressively bullish on this at all. And this is not a double bottom pattern. It is just two bottoms. If this does roll over, just pay attention to that 79 area for major support. XLC, still, it's been in sell signal for since the middle of January, and you see here just continuing to head lower. Interesting enough, we do have a little potential weekly double here, but we need a close above 60. What's the high there? 68.87. And also, what's interesting is even if we did get a bounce in communications over a few weeks. There could be a couple communications plays only if this triggers a double, because they could rally back up and that wouldn't trigger another buy signal longer term. So that would just be a short-term bounce play, very aggressive from a swing perspective for communication stocks. Other than that, I mean, on a daily, it's a triple. So that still favors the lower prices, but this could, again, find a slightly lower prices and then reverse and still come up on a weekly basis and trigger this double bottom. But overall, it is still very bearish mode. So any bullish play in this is very short-lived. XLU still in bullish mode. Pretty strong rally, so nothing else to do here. Didn't quite get up to the next harmonic. So on a rally up above this week's high, I'd watch for 72.77, 73.72. Key support now. Key support on XLU is coming in right about, I'm going to be watching about the 68.34 for sell off. Now, if we just drop to about 69.35, I will be watching for a rotation play back up. That means we're in the rotation zone. You're at this prior resistance becoming support that was broken, and it still remains support, and we have the 37.5% harmonic there. So that is a key level that I really would rather not see broken to remain in very strong bullish mode in XLU. XRT, the retail ETF, which has been in sell mode, still in major sell mode. Not much to do here. The only time, if you want, the only thing that would make me short-term watching for a little pop higher would be a close above 78. And then it would be a quick play, and I'd just be watching for potential resistance at the 50 EMA to about the end of this little mini clear path move at about 81.24. So that would just be a quick little bounce play for any potential stronger retail stocks. Anything weak would not touch in here. So that's the only thing that we're watching in there. IYT, the transportation ETF, really close to a sell signal, but nothing yet. No sell signal yet, holding this key support. Again, this is major. Watching about this 245 area. Start breaking below that. It will trigger a sell signal, and then we will watch for a bigger pullback. The only way I can get bullish on this or anything transportation related, besides some possible railroad stocks, are 261. I need a close above 261 to get me in slight bullish mode. Again, that would be slight bullish. DBC, which we've been commodity index Invesco DB commodity index tracking fund, still in major bullish mode. Been in major bullish mode since back in since August of 20. Now, you can see here we had our harmonic up here, this 28.31 coming up there with a little island top, and with that big gap down, coming down to the bottom of the rotation zone. Again, we're watching for a potential significant top in crude for a short-term significant top. And if we see that, we'll probably pull back in DBC even more. And I could possibly get some short-term sell signals in gold and silver, which are both commodities. So if you get a close below 24.91, I'd be really aggressively moving up your stops and watching for pullback plays. There's nothing to do here besides watch for pullback plays from our perspective. This is just saying we're going to reposition for a potential slightly bigger pullback and then reload on commodity plays. The key area I will be watching is about 2380 to about 24. That's if we do drop below the rotation zone. So that would be the 50% retracement, and then that will be reassessed at that point. DBA, which is at a huge run up. Agriculture fund, subset of commodities, we have a very sloppy double top. It's been in major bullish mode, but we are watching for that bigger pullback, especially if we get a close below 2264 in DBA. This could potentially take us all the way back to about 2077, but I will be watching for about 21. We have a major cluster at 21 and this gap fill, which is, again, we're long-term very bullish on agriculture as a subset of commodities, but it is getting to a very toppy pattern, so we will watch for that to unfold. What would take getting back into bullish mode? We need a rotation back up and a key close above 22. You get a daily close back above 22. We will watch for a retest of the most recent high area. That's where we sit with the stock sector overview. Hope you liked the video. Please do leave us some comments and let us know what you think. And remember, if stuff's in sell mode, even with bounces, that should be long-term repositioning and selling the rallies in those sectors or with those stocks, unless you have a major stock that is having significant outperformance. Other than that, like in communications, they would just be short-term bounce plays and nothing long-term, because longer term, it's again watching for the rollover. With that, we will talk to everyone later. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.